All right, here we go. Marky Billson in conversation. Well, maybe I'm talking to you or at you or what have you here. Anyway, lots of things. I want to talk, like I said, next hour we're going to have a media watch. Talk a little bit more about the Carolina Panthers moving to South Carolina, their practice facility, and why, and the ramifications it has. Because a very interesting article up on Yahoo right now speaks of this move having its tentacles in sports gambling. And that would affect us here. And just some other ideas here that we will have, and just why maybe the area is late in sports gambling. What does sports gambling give the community? We'll talk about all these things here coming up. Anyway, you heard the report that ETSU, they're playing Wofford today. Only 357 people there at Greenville. But let's see here. The Bucks will play in the winner's bracket. Wofford, Micah Kazor. It's pretty fair right there. Pretty fair. As well down the stretch as it did to start out. Was it because of the strength of schedule? Did you need more than just 3 starters? What was the deal here? America has actually come out with their projection for the 64-team field in the college playoffs. Not the College World Series, which is 8 teams double elimination up in Omaha. No, but the playoff field that gets to the College World Series. All right. There's some talk about would Tennessee make it, and their projections do have Tennessee in the NCAA tournament. List of coaches the Michigan Wolverines might hire as their head coach. And they're not bringing in a 68-year-old. It was probably very well settled at Davidson. Juwan Howard had actually, as some people said, the Detroit Free Press, any Fab Five beef. They had to forfeit all their games. Yes, they forfeited, did the Fab Five, their tournament victory against ETSU, if you will. So this, supposedly, Juwan Howard wipes that all away. He had been an assistant coach with the Miami Heat, interesting enough. Howard was always the brainy one of the Fab Five, let's face that. He wasn't calling timeouts, certainly, when he shouldn't have, and he wasn't walking with the ball in the final possession that nobody called. However, it is kind of intriguing. Now, I'm reading SB Nation saying it's transformational. I'm not sure it's transformational. It's basically the same hire that St. John's made when they hired Chris Mullen, who had modest success. let's face it, Howard will be asked to do more at Michigan than what Mullen did, who resigned after this past season, did with St. John's. Now, I will say that Howard, you can say the long knives probably a little bit less likely to come out for him than they would somebody else. However, he does have the pedigree of the assistant coaching in the pros. Who came in from high school, and that's the thing that I'm kind of intrigued by, because I think that Hardaway may be becoming something of the gold standard of the great player. Not a whole lot of coaching experience. Hardaway was coaching at a high school, which I normally say you never should hire a high school head coach to be your college head coach. And Hardaway showed some rough edges, certainly the fights, oftentimes laced with dishonesty, that he picked against Tennessee and Rick Barnes. But then again, what he was doing, and he could get away with it because he's Penny Hardaway, was establishing in Memphis, hey, Tennessee's the enemy. And let's face it, there are 3 grand divisions of Tennessee. You think Memphis and Nashville is a rivalry? Recruits, at least, to come to Memphis, which might be a little bit disturbing. Let's face it. With someone like Rick Barnes, yeah, here's the man who, speaks of his faith and, well, I'd rather spend time in Knoxville than Los Angeles if all things are considered equal and all that. Another player, Jerry Stackhouse, certainly at Vanderbilt, had forgotten about him. And he's gotten some big name recruits as well. I think it's a matter of the personality and relating to the player. And it said younger is better in that regard. Anyway, although the recruits that Howard will be bringing in won't remember him from the Fab Five, it's not like they can't read a book. Maybe today's basketball recruit didn't see Michael Jordan play, or Julius Erving, or Larry Bird, or even Wilt Chamberlain, but there's something called video that they can watch and say, that's interesting. It's pretty good. And this man is a legend. And that's so often disassociated. Plus, there's something called the printed page, where I'm sure basketball people like to read. Perhaps not as much as, say, baseball, or it makes me wonder, when Steve Forbes was hired, he didn't have a problem trying to relate to ETSU history by having his picture taken in front of Mr. Jennings' photo. However, Mr. Jennings is the women's coach up there in Lenore City, over at Lee's McRae, not an assistant at ETSU. Now I realize Sports Now. I'm Marky Billson. We'll return after this baseball.